Yeah.
Hey, Ethan, I am just trying to check in. How are you feeling today?
I'm okay. Yeah, there's a lot going on a lot of the time, but it's been like this for a while. So for me, it's nothing new. I'm just want to be over all of this.
Over all of this? I read your just your intake form, and it really sounds like you have been going through a lot. I am wondering if you could just kind of tell me the story of how you came. I understand you've been having some suicidal thoughts recently, and you mentioned that on the paperwork. If you'd be comfortable sharing with me the story of that and what's happened to get you here.
Yeah. So my brother died by suicide like 5 years ago, and since then, my other brother has also died by suicide about 3 years ago. And so it's been weighing pretty heavy on my mind since I have seen that. It just feels like acceptable for me to do and almost like a path that I feel obligated to follow. Um, I was seeing another therapist for a few years, and she recently told me that she thinks I have complex trauma and that I've been disassociating since I was about 2 years old. And, I think that that's kind of the icing on the cake for me. And her telling me that just makes me feel really hopeless in a lot of different ways. Um, yeah, it's just so much. And I think that, my birthday's coming up and both of my brothers died at age 28 and I'm about to turn 27. And so it's also really heavy right now just because of the birth year thing that's coming up. And yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that with me. That all sounds incredibly painful to have lost both of your brothers by suicide and to have watched that and borne witness to that, not only dealing with the grief of those losses, but everything that goes along with that. And there's a lot that's been going on for you with someone that has like a, any type of complex PTSD or this depression and all of this going on. It is completely not normal, not unnormal to have feelings of wanting to end your life.
Mm.
Um, I am curious, in what ways have you thought of killing yourself?
Well, mostly just taking a handful of drugs. Like
Okay.
I have some prescription medication that I would just take. It's Vyvanse. I would just take a lot of that and just go from there.
Okay.
But
That's
I
good.
know that's not a very like I might not die that way. It's not like a gun. If I were to just take a gun and shoot myself that way, I would for sure die. But with the pills, I know that way is not as like proven to work. But
Yeah. That's all good for me to know. So thank you. Do you currently have access to a gun?
no, I don't. But like I said, I do have the medication.
The medication, yeah. And then have you, what other ways have you thought about killing yourself?
That's mostly it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, um, you know, that, you know, all sounds really like a lot. Do you have any other pills or drugs that you use or substances that could help you at this?
No, I guess if I drink enough alcohol, that would. I think I wrote it in there, but sometimes when I take LSD, there's this voice that's really strong that says the same thing to me every time. It's not if you're going to die, it's when.
Wow, that is really powerful. Do you feel like you have any control over this voice?
No, it comes whenever it wants to, and it scares me how powerful it is and how I feel like I want to act on it every time that it comes.
Okay. And then, do you know roughly how often this happens? How often? You mentioned it comes when you take LSD specifically. Are there other times?
No, not those voices really. Sometimes when I meditate, they come, but I think that's more like my bully self. It's part of me. It doesn't feel like it's an external thing coming towards me. But I take acid like, I don't know, every 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay. 3 to 4 weeks. And then also with the voices, do you have any images of what that would look like? Do you ever imagine what it would look like for you to be dead?
I do. I imagine myself walking down the stairs, going into my bathroom and taking the pills and then sitting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then that I am also curious, what has stopped you so far from going through with all of this?
I think a lot of it's been my mom, she was married to a polygamist and she somehow got out of the religion and she's been doing some of her own like medicinal exploration and she's doing a lot better and it's an inspiration to me and she does two things. One, she makes me think that maybe I will get better. And two, she supports me in a way that I don't want to do that to her and I don't want her to worry about me.
Hey, well, that's really good for me to know. How often do you talk to her?
I would say a few times a week.
Okay. Cool. Are there any other people that you still have in your life that you're close with, or that are important to you?
Yeah, my brother, we've come a long way. I think he is the developer of the bully voice inside of me because he was a bully to me growing up, and now I've adopted that narrative for myself. But our relationship has gotten a lot better since I've been able to stand up for myself and set my boundaries and realize that it's a him thing, not a me thing. So that's been really good. And my friend Travis from middle school.
Cool. Well, what I am hearing from you, Ethan, is a ton of resiliency and the fact that you're able to recognize that your brother was a bully to you and you can kind of differentiate from those thoughts. Is that something that you worked on with your other therapists a bit?
Yeah, for 3 years it took me.
Okay. Yeah, that is something that I can also I can work on with you as well, doing some, processing and working on some of that if you like and if it is appropriate. So is it, I'm just curious still, how are you feeling talking about suicide? Do you feel comfortable sharing this information and what is going on for you right now?
I don't really like to talk about it. I actually never told my other therapist about it because I thought that she might send me to a hospital and I didn't want my friends and family to worry. And that's why I'm really grateful that you told me when we first met what it would be like if I did tell you. So that's why
Yeah.
I feel more comfortable talking to you. But at the same time, like I realize that this is a really important time for me to work through this if I am going to survive. So I know I need to talk about it.
I really appreciate that. And yeah, it's completely normal to feel these feelings and have a hard time talking about this. And I just, for that full transparency, want to reassure you that unless it has to be really, really extreme, and I would always communicate with you um, if and when it would get to that point.
Thank you.
So I appreciate all of your honesty, and I'm always going to do my best to be honest with you in return. Um,
Yeah.
so I guess I just have, I'm just curious about one or two more things. When was the most recent time that you had the thoughts, the voices?
The voices came about, geez, what was that? I would say like 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
But I am worried because I'm dropping acid with my brother this weekend, so I hope it doesn't come up then.
Okay, so when you do acid, typically it sounds like you make some plans. Is that okay? And is it correct
Yeah.
in thinking that? Um, and it sounds like you're around other people. Is that something that typically you think might be beneficial to you and keeping you from going through with this, or you see it as kind of it could potentially be a problem?
No, I'll be spending most of the time with my brother. I think we're gonna go camping and do it, so I won't have access to anything anyways.
And then with this, so you mentioned earlier that the the timeline for you is potentially you have given yourself, you're a little bit nervous about turning 28.
Yeah.
Um, is this something you'd be willing to consider and kind of giving us a chance? So we're turning 27 next week soon. You say we're looking at about a year
Yeah.
still?
It
Okay.
that would be the maximum, yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. And then would you feel comfortable in the future, maybe working with me and um, coming up with a plan and kind of talking about this some more?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm open to anything. I want to get better.
Yeah, I want to help you in whatever way that I can and um, help alleviate some of that stress and some of the intensity and frequency of these thoughts for you.
Thank you.
So anything I can do.
Thanks.
Thanks.